I have a few fragrance hot takes today for 2024. And this is coming from a place where more recently I've been less inspired by fragrances. I haven't been recording as many videos for many reasons. But one of them is that I'm just bored. I'm really just feeling really bored by a lot of fragrance houses and mostly by the more commercial ones. I think there's a lot of fun stuff happening in the indie world, but when it comes to all the major brands, like I'm super bored. Okay, and this is going to be a little bit all TL shade, but here are a few examples where I'm just completely bored. Just Ellis Brooklyn, not a bad brand, but, there's nothing I feel was really memorable. Replica, this has been like done and overdone. Floral Street, there's so many examples. I mean, just go to Sephora and most of it just feels so forgettable. And I think one of my major frustrations stems from the fact that I feel like there's this giant disconnect between the world of fashion and the associated fragrances that kind of come out of it. And I'll give you an example so that you can kind of picture what I mean. So we've all seen this show, right? It was very edgy by Maison Margiela, where the makeup just stood out and everybody was talking about it, and also the edgy fashion. But here are the perfumes that we get from the house. We get like, oh, I'm sailing. Oh, a day by the beach. I don't know, am I the only one who kind of sees that? There was also this show by Robert Woon. So this is where we are in fashion. Everybody was kind of praising this latest show. Very edgy, very avant-garde, a clear vision. But I don't feel that level of risk is translating into the world of perfumery. And I'll give you another example. So a while ago, Lady Gaga launched this fragrance, and if you checked out the whole campaign around it, it was extremely edgy, and even from all the way up until the bottle design. But even with Lady Gaga, when it came to the actual DNA of the fragrance, it was very conservative. It was very, pretty. There was a disconnect between the edgy signature of it and the actual scent. And I can compare this to music a little bit, where a few things needed to happen in the world of music to bring the social ear to a more contemporary time. So it feels like something needs to happen in the world of fragrances to kind of bring the social nose somewhere else, if that makes any sense. And I talk about the social nose sort of as a reference to the social ear that we hear in music literature. So for example, when Stravinsky created his amazing pieces, people didn't quite understand it because to them it felt like noise. But it's in retrospect that we understand how brilliant it was. And it took composers like that to bring the social ear somewhere else. Or Arnold Schoenberg, who completely broke off from harmonic writing to create these really strange sounds, which now we kind of accept. And I somehow feel that we're kind of stuck in the world of perfumery because there's this focus on just pretty. If you look at fashion, we're falling into the grotesque, which we're starting to accept as a beautiful aesthetic. Yet when it comes to fragrances, we're stuck with I'm looking for just a nice and pretty smell. And I'm not saying everything has to be challenging, but there should be something a little bit conceptually evocative. And I think there's a few things. I talked about pretty. I think there's also the photorealism that we overemphasize. I think it's overrated. What is photorealism? It's analyzing a scent signature and recreating a recipe to recreate that. I find that boring. I find that super boring. It's a nice parlor trick in perfumery, but I'm ready to go elsewhere. If I compare photorealism to visual arts, that was something we were doing 100, 200 years ago. And we've moved on. We've moved on into the world of abstract. We've moved on to other things. But yet in perfumery, we're still in the world of pretty and photorealism. So yeah, that's how I've been feeling about the general world of perfumery. And I'm talking about obviously the more commercial side. But there are a few singularities. Angel by Mugler, once upon a time, pushed a few boundaries, both in its DNA and its full concept. So it is possible. And I'm looking forward in seeing more brands taking a few more risks and kind of trying to match the signature of the runway with what's going into the bottles. But otherwise, there are a lot of exciting indie perfumers that are worth discovering who are kind of pushing these boundaries. So if you guys know any of them, please tag them below so that everybody can kind of discover them.